तो हम आज का सेशन में डिस्कस करने वाले हैं कर्मा के बारे में। व्हाट इज कर्मा? तो आज का सेशन बहुत महत्वपूर्ण है और आप सभी लोग सेशन से जुड़े हुए हैं, तो आपका बहुत बहुत धन्यवाद। हम शुरू कर रहे हैं। ओके, ऑलराइट, सो लेट्स गेट स्टार्टेड। आज का सेशन है कर्म योगा पे, व्हाट इज कर्मा। और बहुत इम्पोर्टेंट है कि हम इसको समझें, क्योंकि हमारे लिए, हमारे जीवन में सबसे ज़्यादा इम्पोर्टेंट है कर्मा को समझना, क्योंकि हम कर्मा करते हैं और बहुत कुछ करते हैं, राइट?
Yes,
तो
sir.
ओके, तो हम शुरू करेंगे। आज हमारे गुरु महाराज, ही लेफ्ट, he gave up the body, material body today, and joined Srila Prabhupada in serving. So all over the world, people and everyone, including me, kind of been struggling to digest about this fact. But pure devotees of Krishna, they pass by their own will. They go by their own will, but they stay with us by their instructions, by their life example, by their activities, by their spiritual activities. So today we are going to discuss karma activities. And Guru Maharaj, His Holiness Gopala Krishna Goswami Maharaj, he lived by his own glorious life of almost 80 years, close to 80 years. In August, he was turning 80. So this is not ordinary. And today's, despite anything happens in our life, that we continue our service to the Bhagavad Gita, to the spiritual master, to Prabhupada, to Krishna. So therefore, I am today here to continue the service of discussing about Bhagavad Gita, preaching it for the benefit of everyone, for the pleasure of Guru Maharaj, His Holiness Gopala Krishna Goswami Maharaj. So let's discuss. We are starting chapter 3 today. So we'll do some prayers and then we will start the discussion today. In the beginning, we'll hear from Srila Prabhupada a little bit about karma. I have got some audio clip, so we'll all hear about karma and then we'll continue discussion from chapter 3 of Bhagavad Gita. All right. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. नारायणं नमस्कृत्यं नरं चैव नरोत्तमं देवीं सरस्वतीं व्यासं ततो जयात्मधीरये नष्टप्रायेष अभद्रेषु नित्यं भागवत सेवया भगवते उत्तमश्लोके भक्तिर्भवति नैष्टिकी कृष्णाय वासुदेवाय देवकीनन्दनाय च नन्दगोपकुमाराय गोविन्दाय नमो नमः। जय श्री कृष्ण चैतन्य प्रभु नित्यानंद श्री अद्वैत गदाधर श्रीवासादि गौर भक्त वृंद। हरे कृष्णा कृष्ण कृष्णा हरे हरे, हरे राम 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 हरे हरे। हरे कृष्णा। सो हम शिला प्रभुपाद के ऑडियो सुनेंगे थोड़ी देर। विल हियर द ऑडियो शिला प्रभुपाद। I've downloaded it, so I'll share it. We all can hear. Very nice audio about karma. Let me open that for all of us. Okay.
Om Arjuna, the idea.
So if you want to follow from Bhagavad Gita,
And art, supreme control.
so then you can go to page number. I can tell you page number in the English Bhagavad Gita book, or I'll share the link for the online people in the chat. You can go to section and read with us. So go to an introduction, page number, let me tell you. So from where Prabhupada is speaking is page number 8. Page number 8. That's where in introduction of Bhagavad Gita, the karma is explained. So we'll continue reading. It will be reading from there, and then we'll continue with chapter 3. So I'm going to share the audio on Zoom, and people on YouTube can directly see the screen. Also on the Zoom, they can see the screen. Okay. Give me a moment. Oh, just setting up the live video. Okay, so you can hear, hopefully. Oh. Can you hear, Hare Krishna? Hare Krishna?
Prabhuji. No, Prabhuji.
Okay. Now can you hear?
That thing is explained.
Yes, Prabhuji.
Okay.
Bhagavad.
So we'll hear
Then,
about karma.
what is this material nature? The nature is also explained. The material nature is explained in the Bhagavad Gita as inferior Prakriti. Inferior Prakriti and the living entity are explained as a superior Prakriti. Prakriti means which is control, which is under Prakriti. Real meaning of Prakriti is
It's not audible, Prabhuji.
a
Can you hear now?
predominant. The Lord, the Supreme Personality of Godhead, is the predominator, and this Prakriti, both the living entities and the material nature, they are different Prakritis or predominated, controlled by the Supreme. So, according to Bhagavad Gita, the living entity, although they are parts and parcels of the Supreme Lord, they are taken as Prakriti. This is clearly mentioned in the 7th chapter of the Bhagavad Gita. Yes, aparayam itastu vidhi apara. This material nature is apara. Yeah, itastu, and beyond this, there is another Prakriti. And what is that Prakriti? Jiva Bhuta. So, this Prakriti, the constitution of this Prakriti is constituted by 3 qualities: the mode of goodness, the mode of passion, and mode of ignorance. And about these modes, 3 different kinds of modes: goodness, passion, and ignorance. There is eternal time. There is eternal time. And by combination of these modes of nature and under the control, under the purview of this eternal time. There are activities. There are activities which is called karma. These activities are being done from time immemorial, and we are suffering or enjoying the fruits of our activities. Just like in the present life also, we enjoy the activities, the fruits of our activities. Suppose I am a businessman and I have worked very hard with intelligence, and I have amassed a vast amount of bank balance. And now I am the enjoyer. Similarly, suppose I started my business with a vast amount of money, but I failed to make it successful. I lost all the money. So I am suffering. So in every field of life, we enjoy the result of our work. This is called karma. So these things, Ishvara, Jiva, Prakriti, are the Supreme Lord, are the living entity, the material nature, the eternal time, and our different activities. These things are explained in the Bhagavad Gita. Now, out of these five, the Lord, the living entities, and the material nature and time, these four items are eternal. Now, manifestation of Prakriti may be temporary, but it is not false. Some philosophers say that this manifestation of material nature is false. But according to the philosophy of Bhagavad Gita, or according to the philosophy of the Vaishnavas, they do not accept the manifestation of the world as false. They accept that the manifestation is real, but it is temporary. It is just like a cloud takes place in the sky and the rainy season begins. And after the rainy season, there are so many new green vegetation all over the field we can see. And as soon as the rainy season is finished, then the cloud is vanquished. Generally, gradually, all this vegetation dry up, and again the land becomes barren. Similarly, this material manifestation takes place at a certain interval. We will understand it, we will know it from the pages of the Bhagavad Gita. Bhutta bhutta praliyate. These manifestation becomes magnificent at a certain interval, and again it disappears. That is the work of the Prakriti. But it is working eternal. That the Prakriti is eternal. It is not false. Because the Lord has accepted mama Prakriti, my Prakriti. Aparayam itastu vidhi me Prakriti param. Vinna Prakriti. Vinna Prakriti, apara Prakriti. This material nature is a separated energy of the Supreme Lord, and the living entities, they are also energy of the Supreme Lord, but they are not separated. they are eternally related. So, the Lord, the living entity, the nature, material nature, and time, they are all eternal. But the other item, karma, is not eternal. The effects of karma or activity may be very old. We are suffering or enjoying the results of our activities from a time immemorial. But still, we can change the result of our karma or activity. That will depend on our perfect knowledge. We are engaged in various activities, undoubtedly, but we do not know what sort of activities we shall adopt that will give us relief from the actions and reactions of all activities. That is also explained in the Bhagavad Gita.
Hare Krishna. So we were reading with Srila Prabhupada from introduction of the Bhagavad Gita, and Prabhupada was explaining about karma. And he was explaining there are 5 different things in this world. So we all know that there is Ishvara, there is a Lord, there is a God, and then there is Jiva, there is a living entity. That is second one. The third thing is called Prakriti or material nature. And then fourth is time, it is called Kala. And the fifth is karma or activities. So in this world, there are 5 things, right? The first is Ishvara, the God. The second is Jiva, the living entities, the we, the Prakriti, this whole cosmic manifestation. It's nature, that's the third. The fourth is time, everything is working under time, right? So the time, the fourth, and the fifth is karma, activity. So by influence of, so this jiva, who is a part and parcel of Lord Krishna, is working under Prakriti, which is material nature, under certain time intervals, and produces some activity, which is karma. So these are 5 main aspects of Bhagavad Gita. And today we are discussing about karma. So what is karma? And Srila Prabhupada explaining here that just like that we all do some kind of activities, doesn't matter what life you are, right? So karma is not just bad karma or just bad things. People generally talk about karma, they talk about this is your karma, you should suffer. But when good thing comes, then they say, oh, this is my hard work and I should enjoy, right? Because they think that they did it. But when bad goes, then, oh, bro, this is your karma, you should go through it. But no, here it is said that these activities, whatever activities we do, good or bad, is karma. So out of these 5 things, that is Ishvara, Prakriti, Kala, karma, and time, the 4 things are eternal. They never finish. They never, they exist forever. What are the 4 things out of 5 which exist forever? That is Ishvara is always there. Living entities, that is Prakriti, is always there. And then time is always there. And the Jiva, the living entities, is there. So these 4 things, Ishvara, Jiva, Prakriti, and Kala, is always there. So that's one thing which is not permanent. What is that one thing which is not permanent in this world? In Bhagavad Gita, I explained it is called karma, your activities. Our activities is not permanent. So Prabhupada is explaining that, just like a businessman may do very great business and amass a lot of wealth. So you may enjoy your money for some time, but then it get over. Or somebody is trying to start a business and lost everything. So then either you are successful in business, you enjoy the activities, the karma, or if you are losing in business, you suffer the karma. In either case, karma is happening. Doesn't matter what situation we are in, right? So this karma is one thing we have control over. We can decide what kind of karma we want to do it, right? But most of us doesn't know what karma to do because we have no idea about what to do or not to do, actually. And nowadays, people don't even want to know what to do, what not to do. It is being taught that you can do whatever you like in life. This is being taught, but in actuality, for example, can you ever imagine a time or remember a time in your life in past when you were free to do anything? There was actually no time. When we were a child, we were controlled by our parents. We had a freedom, but regulation. So we were being controlled under a regulation. When we grow up, we go to school, we are working under teachers. Teachers also, you think it's free, but it's not, because you have to follow the rules of the school, you have to follow the teacher, you have to follow everything. And then when you grow up, you get into job, still you're not free. You have to follow the rules of your employer, organizations. So where is freedom? But somehow or other, falsely, the modern civilization is teaching everyone that you can do whatever you like, but actually you cannot do anything much. You have to follow the rules and regulation to do anything what you like, because you have to follow the regulations. You can't just do whatever you like. So this is hypocrisy, right? This is hypocrisy. So which means that what is being propagated is not correct. But Bhagavad Gita puts this karma, the activity, in very right perspective. And that's what we are going to learn in this chapter 3 of Bhagavad Gita. That how can we mold our activities in a way which does not produce karma? How can we work at the same time doesn't produce actions and reactions? That is the teaching of Bhagavad Gita. And no school in the world teaches us this. Somehow, unfortunately, there is no department for teaching about all this in an authentic way, except for a few organizations, including ISKCON and books by Srila Prabhupada. Most of the time, it is not being very clearly taught that how you can learn and adapt in life to live in such a way in this temporary material body as a living entity and work under the purview of time, under the direction of Ishvara, and doesn't produce any reaction and action. That is the perfection of karma. So if you want to perfect your karma, then we should learn from chapter 3 of Bhagavad Gita. And that's what we are going to start today, understanding about chapter 3 of Bhagavad Gita, called Karma Yoga. So Karma Yoga, there are two words, karma and yoga, and we'll read with text 1. So what I'll do, I'll read text number 1, and then other people on the Zoom call can read text 2, text 3, and people who are online on Instagram and or Facebook can also read. So I can put the link into the comment, or if somebody is online and if you can comment, you can comment the Vedaves chapter 3, Karma Yoga, and then people can open and read on your own phone. Or if you have Bhagavad Gita, let's read together. All right. Karma Yoga, chapter 3. Arjuna Vasa Jayasi cheta karmaste. You can all repeat with me. Let's repeat this. Arjuna Vacha.
Arjuna Uvacha.
Jayasi cheta karmaste.
Jayasi Cheta Karmasye.
Mata buddhir janardana.
Matha Buddhit
Buddhi Janardana.
Tat kim karmani ghore mam.
Tatkim Karmani Ghore Mam.
Niyojayasi kesava.
Niyojayasi Kesava.
So we'll read translation and purport by His Divine Grace, A. Shri Bhaktivedanta Swami Srila Prabhupada Ki Jai. Arjuna said, O Janardhan, O Keshava, why do you want me to engage in this ghastly warfare if you think that intelligence is better than fruitive work? Purport. Supreme Personality of Godhead Sri Krishna has very elaborately described the constitution of soul in previous chapter, with a view to delivering his intimate friend Arjuna from the ocean of material grief. So you remember that Arjuna was, in the beginning of Bhagavad Gita, you see, Arjuna was very much disturbed and he doesn't want to perform any activity. Then in chapter 2 of Bhagavad Gita, Krishna explained all the three yogas, Jnana Yoga, Karma Yoga, Buddhi Yoga. At the end, Krishna said that you just follow me and do your activities. And because of that, the Arjuna is now confused. What to do? You know, you talk all three and looks like Bhakti Yoga is the best, maybe Jnana Yoga is the best, Karma Yoga is the best. Then how to understand it? That's the question here. That if you think that intelligence is better than fruitive work, then why you are engaging me to do something? Because then I could be jnani, I could be focused on intelligence rather than fighting the war. And that is being here discussed, right? I just wanted to give you a little background about this situation. And the path of realization have been recommended, Buddhi Yoga or Krishna consciousness. Sometimes Krishna consciousness is misunderstood to be inertia, and one with such a misunderstanding often withdraws to secluded place to become fully Krishna conscious by chanting the holy name of Lord Krishna. But without being trained in the philosophy of Krishna consciousness, it is not advisable to chant the holy name of Krishna in the secluded place, where one may acquire only cheap adoration from innocent public. People also thought, Arjuna also thought of Krishna consciousness or Buddhi Yoga or intelligence in spiritual advancement of knowledge as something like retirement from active life and the practice of penance and austerity at a secluded place. In other words, he wanted to skillfully avoid the fighting by using Krishna consciousness as an excuse. But as a sincere student, he placed the matter before his master and questioned Krishna as to his best course of action. In answer, Lord Krishna elaborately explained Karma Yoga or work in Krishna consciousness in this chapter. So, same thing is our life, right? That sometimes we feel that we should leave everything. And sometimes we think that we should purchase everything. And sometimes we feel, let's have both. Or sometimes we don't feel anything, a state of depression where actually you don't feel anything. You don't want to do anything. You don't want to leave anything. You're just hanging on there and don't know what to do. So that's the situation, in Arjuna's life, that he's confused what to do now. You talk about Bhakti Yoga and worshipping with intelligence, and then you talk about Karma Yoga, that fighting the war. So what should I do? Should I go to forest or should I continue fighting? So that's what Krishna gonna explain. Anybody wants to read from the Zoom call?
Prabhuji, can I read?
Yes, Mataji, please.
Yamisreneva vakyena buddhi mohayasiva me tadekam vada nischitya yona sreyohamavapnuyam. My intelligence is bewildered by your equivocal instructions. Therefore, please tell me decisively which will be the most beneficial for me. In the previous chapter, as a prelude to the Bhagavad Gita, many different paths were explained, such as Sankhya Yoga, Buddhi Yoga, control of the senses by intelligence, work without fruitive desire, and the positions of the neophyte. This was all presented unsystematically. A more organized outline of the path would be necessary for action and understanding. Arjuna therefore wanted to clear up these apparently confusing matters so that any common man could accept them without misinterpretation. Although Krishna had no intention of confusing Arjuna by any jugglery of words, Arjuna could not follow the process of Krishna consciousness either by inertia or by active service. In other words, by his questions, he is clearing the path of Krishna consciousness for all students who seriously want to understand the mystery of the Bhagavad Gita. Hare Krishna, Prabhuji.
Hare Krishna. Mansi. Thank you. So we'll continue reading text number 3. Anybody wants to read text 3? Please don't sigh, read. We should get involved, otherwise won't get full benefit. So chapter 3, text number 3.
Shri Bhagavan Vacha Lokeshman Davi Vidya Nishta Vyora Prukota Maya Yadvegha Janana Yojanena Sankhya Nam Karma Yogina Yogiyam. The Supreme Personality of Godhead said, O sinless Arjuna, I have already explained that there are two classes of men who try to realize the self. Some are inclined to understand by impractical philosophical speculation, and other by devotional service. In the second chapter, verse 39, the Lord explained two kinds of procedure, namely Sankhya Yoga and Karma Yoga, or Buddhi Yoga. In this verse, the Lord explained the same more clearly. Sankhya Yoga, or the analytical study of the nature of spirit and matter, is subject matter for the person who are inclined to speculate and understand things by experimental knowledge and philosophy. The other class of man works in Krishna consciousness, as it is explained in the 65 verse of the second chapter. The Lord is explained also in the 39th verse that by working by the principle of Buddhi Yoga or Krishna consciousness, one can relieve from the bondage of action, and furthermore, there is no flaw in the process. The same principle is more clearly explained in the 61st verse, that the Buddhi Yoga is to depend entirely onto the Supreme, or more specifically on Krishna. And in this way, all the senses can be brought under the control very easily. Therefore, both the yogas are interdependent as religion and the philosophy. Religion without philosophy is sentiment, or sometimes fantasism, while philosophy without religion is mental speculation. The ultimate goal is Krishna, because the philosophers who are also sincere searching after the absolute truth come in the end to the Krishna consciousness. That is also stated in the Bhagavad Gita. The whole process is to understand the real position of a self in relation to the super self. The indirect process is philosophical speculation, by which gradually one may come to the point of Krishna consciousness, and the other process is directly connecting everything with Krishna in Krishna consciousness. Of these two, the path of Krishna consciousness is better because it does not depend on purifying the senses by a philosophical process. Krishna consciousness is itself is a purifying process, and by the direct method of a devotional service, it is simultaneously easy and sublime. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna. So in this verse, Krishna is explaining Sri Bhagavan Uvacha Loke Yasmin Dvividha Nishtha Pura Prokta Mayanaga Jnani Yogena Sankhyanam Karma Yogena Yoginam. The Supreme Personality of Godhead said, O sinless Arjuna, I have already explained that there are two classes of men who try to realize self. Some are inclined to understand it by empirical philosophical speculation, another by devotional service. So Prabhupada already explained a lot that if you see in the world also, you have heard, different type of people teaching Bhagavad Gita. Actually, there are only two kind of people. Most of time you'll see. So one is who trying to analyze Bhagavad Gita by their own mental speculation, and they try to show their knowledge about Sanskrit scholarship or knowledge about mundane world and how they can relate to it. So that's the one class. Other is philosophical speculations. They just talk about philosophy, comparing philosophies, and then trying to understand Bhagavad Gita. And Prabhupada is explaining, actually, you don't have to take separate path, because he's saying that religion without philosophy is sentiment. So in the world, you will see a lot of people call, I am religious. But if you ask, what is the philosophy of your being religious? What philosophy do you believe in? They will say, what do you mean by that? What is philosophy? I just believe I am religious. But actually they have no philosophy. And that's why they are sentimental. So when they're religious, just to showcase people or try to belong to certain group of people to show that I'm religious. So that it's fancy to be religious, say that I'm Hindu, I'm Muslim, and I'm Christian, I'm Jewish, it's nice, I'm Sikh. And it's very nice because you feel a part of a group. But if you ask them, what is your philosophy? Then most of time, people who are even religious, they have no idea about what is philosophy. And even if they have idea about philosophy, they don't have any thorough knowledge about it, because, they are taught something, and even that is not based on the true teachers of that, that religion. So philosophy is lost and religion still remains. People become sentimental. And when people become sentimental, that's where the problem starts, because sentiment cannot take you longer, because at one point, when the problems in life hit, then our faith breaks. And then, we don't believe in religion. People become atheistic, right? Because when God stops supplying, then you think there is no God. So God is like order supplier. Other way, if you see, there are a lot of people who have a lot of philosophy. They study big universities, they're professors, they're teaching. So once upon a time, Srila Prabhupada was talking to a big professor from United States, actually it was from MIT, Department of Religion. He was a professor in Department of Religion here in Massachusetts Institute of Technology, MIT, Boston. And Prabhupada was conversing, because Prabhupada has duty to go and talk to these big people. So he was a teacher of Bhagavad Gita, and he used to teach Bhagavad Gita in the classes of MIT to the student of religion. So Prabhupada wanted to talk to him. And then they started conversing. And so Prabhupada was hearing him is talking about Bhagavad Gita and what Bhagavad Gita is, what is said in Bhagavad Gita. And then at the end, when he stopped speaking, so Prabhupada asked, so Professor, you understood Bhagavad Gita? So yes, I teach Bhagavad Gita. I've studied hundreds of time in my life. And, I have studied Bhagavad Gita thoroughly. I remember a lot of things from here. So then Srila Prabhupada asked from a mighty professor, so what are you going to do now? So a mighty professor was like, what do you mean by that? I just teach Bhagavad Gita. What I have to do? There is nothing to do. I just teach Bhagavad Gita to the students. And so then Prabhupada was said, oh, this is the problem, because even you studied Bhagavad Gita, but you don't know what to do, which means that you did not understood Bhagavad Gita. Because Bhagavad Gita is mean for action. It's called for action. It's not called for inaction. So if you really understood Bhagavad Gita, then you should do something about it. Otherwise, you're just cheating people saying that I studied Bhagavad Gita. So then professor was shocked. Like, nobody challenged him in such a way in whole life. And he was like, you know, kind of terrified in the sense that someone here sitting and challenging him that, you didn't understood Bhagavad Gita. And he was so-called big professor in the known of field in the field of religion. So that's a problem because this professor doesn't have religion, just philosophy. So it becomes a speculation. And even if you're just religion but no philosophy, then it becomes sentimentalism. You become sentimental because there is no philosophy beyond religion. And that's why, Krishna will explain further that why we should understand both. Correct? So let's read chapter, text number 4 from chapter 3 of Bhagavad Gita. So who wants to read text number 4 from Zoom?
I'll read, Prabhuji.
Yes, Rituparna.
3.4 Bhagavad Gita.
Yes,
From
yes.
database I'm reading.
Yes.
Na karmanam anarambhan naishkarmyam purushosnute nacha shanya sanadeva siddhim samadhi gacchati. Translation: not by merely abstaining from work can one achieve freedom from reaction, nor by renunciation alone can one attain perfection. Can I read the purport also?
Yes, please go ahead.
Purport. The renounced order of life can be accepted when one has been purified by the discharge of the prescribed form of duties which are laid down just to purify the hearts of materialistic men. Without purification, one cannot attain success by abruptly adopting the fourth order of life, that is sannyasa. According to the empirical philosophers, simply by adopting sannyasa or retiring from fruitive activities, one at once becomes as good as Narayana. But Lord Krishna doesn't approve this principle. Without purification of heart, sannyasa is simply a disturbance to the social order. On the other hand, if someone takes to the transcendental service of the Lord, even without discharging his prescribed duties, whatever he may be able to advance in the cause is accepted by the Lord. That is Buddhi Yoga. Swalpamapi asya dharmasya trayate mahato bhayat. Even a slight performance of such a principle enables one to overcome great difficulties. Hare Krishna.
Thank you, Rituparna. Yes, so here Krishna now bringing the point of, karma. So not by merely abstaining from work one can achieve freedom from reaction, nor by renunciation alone one can attain perfection. So some people, say that I will stop working. A lot of time, I hear from people who are pretty disturbed with life, they don't like their job, they don't like their family, and maybe they don't like sometimes themselves. People are so depressed that they dislike even themselves. So these are the people candidate to commit suicide in future because they hate themselves. And there are some people love themselves so much, but they hate others around them. And there are some people don't like even their work. So it could be dangerous because you cannot stop working. You can give up your job now, but after a few days, a few weeks or month, you realize there is nothing to do. So you create disturbance in others' life because you have nothing to do. And our mind cannot stay idle. We need some engagement. It's like a, empty mind is a devil's workshop. So you need to engage this mind in something. And so, which means that you cannot stop. So it's not that if you don't do anything, if you go to Himalaya in a cave, in a very secluded place, and you start meditating where there is no one else, how long you can meditate upon, first of all. We cannot fast for one day. And people talk about becoming yogi in Himalayas. Most of public won't qualify, right? And then some people say, oh, I'll give up everything and then I'll get perfected. I'll leave my family, home, property, job, everyone, and I take a sannyas, and then I'll become perfect. So can't be done artificially, and it is not recommended by Krishna. So, however, if you discharge your prescribed duties, so if you do your duties, whatever situation you put in, but offer the results to Krishna as a form of offering, connect to Krishna, everything, so become Buddhi Yoga. Karma Yoga turns into Buddhi Yoga because then you are performing your action in the knowledge that these actions are carried out by my body under the control of modes of material nature for certain interval of time and under the supreme control of Ishvara, Krishna. Then your karmas become Buddhi Yoga because then it's all about knowledge. It doesn't matter what knowledge you are doing the activity, right? For example, if you with a knife is an object, with a knife, with a sharp object, you can do surgery and you can cure the disease of an individual person. So doctor takes the knife or sharp object or scissor and does the surgery and remove the disease. But with the knowledge, so doctor has the knowledge that how to use that scissor in a way that will remove the disease, right? But if you give the same scissor to someone who doesn't have a knowledge of how to utilize the scissor, then person can commit crime, right? Or they have a knowledge, but they have an imperfect knowledge, so they will commit crime. They can kill people with the same knife or scissor. It's just about the matter of knowledge, what knowledge the person has acquired in their life. And with that knowledge, they're trying to perform the activity. So knowledge is very important, right? So that's why we'll read Bhagavad Gita weekly here and try to understand Bhagavad Gita in the light of knowledge and not just read of our own, but read from Srila Prabhupada books here and the teachings from our Guru, our Acharyas, our Parampara, and previous Acharyas in association with all the deities, all of you. So reading together has a power. Reading alone is good. Reading alone in secluded place is okay. Reading alone in with some people is better. But reading together virtually and presenting this to everyone, even if you don't want to look at it, is the best because this is most selfless, highest selfless service we can do, right? So we are performing our duties to spread this knowledge of Bhagavad Gita for everyone. And it's up to the people whether they take it, doesn't take it. We don't too much get into results. We just do our activities. And when we do with that perfection of knowledge, then we don't get the reactions and actions of the activities, right? So we'll read another sloka and then we will end here for today. I'm tired and kind of not feeling pretty well. So we'll read this text number 5 and then we'll have some question or answer or any discussion. All right, so another 10 minutes. Anybody wants to read text 5?
Shall I, Prabhuji? If no one
Yes,
is.
please read text number 5.
Nahi kaschit kshanamapi jati tishtyatya karmakrit karyate yavasaha karma sarva prakriti jairgunai. Everyone is forced to act helplessly according to the qualities he has acquired from the modes of material nature. Therefore, no one can refrain from doing something, not even for a moment. It is not a question of embodied life, but it is the nature of the soul to be always active. Without the presence of the spirit soul, the material body cannot move. The body is only a dead vehicle to be worked by the spirit soul, which is always active and cannot stop even for a moment. As such, the spirit soul has to be engaged in the good work of Krishna consciousness. Otherwise, it will be engaged in occupation dictated by the illusory energy. If in contact with material energy, the spirit soul acquires material modes, and to purify the soul from such affinities, it is necessary to engage in the prescribed duties enjoined in the Shastras. But if the soul is engaged in his natural function of Krishna consciousness, whatever he is able to do is good for him. Srimad Bhagavad Gita, Srimad Bhagavatam 1.5717 affirms this. Tyaktva sadharmam charanambujam hare bhajanna pakko atah patte thato yadi yatrakva vabhadrama hudamushyakhim kovarda apto bhajatam swadharmataha. If someone takes to Krishna consciousness, even though he may not follow the prescribed duties in the Shastras or execute the devotional service properly, and even though he may fall down from the standard, there is no loss or evil for him. But if he carries out all the injunctions for purification in the Shastras, what does it avail him if he is not Krishna conscious? So, the purificatory process is necessary for reaching this point of Krishna consciousness. Therefore, sannyasa or any purificatory process is to help reach the ultimate goal of becoming Krishna conscious, without which everything is considered a failure. Hare Krishna, Prabhuji.
Yes. So here, thank you for reading this sloka, number 5, chapter 3, Karma Yoga, Bhagavad Gita. So this sloka, think of a situation, think of a situation in the world. Why do people want to become rich? I mean, rich means real rich. So what people do when they become rich? Do you know some people who are rich and what they do?
They do some business or start earning monies.
No, once they become like big, like millionaire, billionaire. Let's talk about billionaire because millionaire there is a lot.
Even then, they don't stop earning, Prabhuji.
But what is the one common thing which all of them want to do? Like, whether it's Tata, Birla, Bill Gates, all big people, philanthropic organizations, what they want to do?
They want to help others.
Help others, right? At some point, they realize that, this amount of money I have collected, and let's engage in some people's service, right? That's a philanthropic nature. Every big person will have some foundation, to give some money some way or out. Maybe it is not proportionate to the amount of money they earn, maybe just 0.1% of their total income, right? But they want to show to the public in the matter of just showing off that, I'm philanthropic, I'm a nice person because I donate this much amount of money for this cause. This is the, final goal. So in this connection, if you read the last paragraph, so the purificatory process is necessary for reaching this point of Krishna consciousness. So they went through a lot of purificatory process. When they were very small or, they were not big businessmen, they were not thinking about being philanthropic. They were more thinking, how can I study? How can I start a business? How can I start a company? How can I start making money? So they were going through so much trouble, austerity, so much difficulties. That's a purification. So when they reach to the platform of so much money and position, now they want to become philanthropic. So that's why. So that Prabhupada in Bhagavad Gita says that even if you reach to that level of being, billionaire and philanthropic, but if you're not Krishna conscious, you don't know the ultimate goal of life. because then you're not helping people in a sense that, these people whom you will take, they will take your money and they will go and take what? Wine, drugs, people will purchase guns and kill people. Even if you improve the quality of life, these people, they will not get out of this psychology of enjoying the world and then suffering unlimitedly, because they are trying to enjoy too much and suffer. We have a very great example that if you take rasgulla and you take one rasgulla, it tastes good. Take 5, maybe tastes good. But if you take 50, you suffer. The same rasgulla which gave you enjoyment in the beginning, it gives suffering when it is excessive. So excess of everything is bad. We know it, this phrase, and we have experienced in our life, right? So similarly, when they reach to that platform, they don't know what is Krishna consciousness, then they are doing the same thing. They are putting these people in a situation where they become lazy and they just dependent on others and how much you will supply. At some point, you have to leave the body, you have to close the organization. And what will happen to the thousands and millions of people who were dependent on your organization to get free bugs, free money? And they are going to suffer. So did you help them? No, because you didn't empower them to become independent of their own. You make them a slave who become dependent on you. Because why it happened? Because you are not great. You are not God. God can do that. God can supply everything at the same time, uplift people. But if we try to become God, but one day this small God, which we call God ourselves, we die, leave the body, then everyone who loves me, follows me, is orphan. But that's not the case of spiritual practices. Spiritual practices uplift us. How they uplift us? They uplift our consciousness. It's not that I'm sitting on this high chair, they uplift up to 20 feet chair. No, they uplifted our consciousness that I am not this body. This world is temporary. If this body will die one day, then what is the goal? To uplift this consciousness that I am the spirit soul. I am the part and parcel of Ishvara. I'm working under the modes of material nature, but I need to get rid or get out of this material nature. And this world is working under purview of time. And I'm performing certain activities. So why not perform these activities for the service of Krishna, for service of Supreme Controller, so that I'm not under the karma purview, right? So I'll stop speaking here. If there are any questions, I can take it, and then we'll end session for today. Next week, we will continue reading from text number 6 of Bhagavad Gita, chapter 3. Hare Krishna.